Good evening and welcome to the Friday Forecast. I am your host, Chris Brack. I am Mr. Friday Night. Yes, it's still going. I'm still trying to get it over. Guess what? We're actually live. I thought that chat was going like shit because obviously the 15-minute chat last week, it was brilliant. If only you could have seen it. Anyway, to bring a bit of order to the place, we've got Pete. Pete, how are we?
Oh, absolutely superb. FA Cup in the bag, not a problem. Top four, we'll discuss about that in a bit, but we'll worry about that later.
No one cares about that, do they? No one cares about top four.
Absolutely fantastic after last week.
Thank you. Captain Oscar, how are we?
I'm good, mate. Just been landing a couple of planes, as you always say. No, I'm good, man. Good. Leeds finishing the season well. Season's finishing, but I've never been this excited going into a new season as I am now, to be honest. Just cannot wait. Cannot wait for next season.
Good. And today we have a new guest today. We have Adam from Red Sea Pod. James unfortunately wasn't available tonight, so Adam, his co-host, has very happily stepped in. Adam, welcome to the Trippers.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on. And like you say, lots to get into. And I'm not counting my chickens just yet. I'm going to wait till come 6 o'clock Sunday to start gloating if I can.
Oh, totally. I'm going to start gloating now because I think I'm one of the few who's still relatively positive could do it. Which Pete thought I was delusional. Possibly was, to be fair. So, right. So, let's start with a fun game first. I would say the surprise package of the season, West Ham. I've got to give David Moyes credit, which, he's not something I do very often. Against Southampton, who are the most erratic side I think I've seen going. So, Pete, let's start with you. West Ham, Southampton, how are you seeing this one?
It's got to be a Hammers win. Southampton, I'm not saying they're on the beach, but they're just going to go through the motions. West Ham still something to play for. And even if the Hammers didn't have anything to play for, if they were, say, 3, 4, 5 points further back than where they are, I still would go for, and quite heavily really, a home win, because you've got a Southampton side who we mentioned a few weeks ago. I think this summer is a huge summer for Southampton. That's not necessarily in terms of actually getting players in. That's maybe just holding on to the core players. And I'm not talking about, say, Danny Ings, etc., the stars. I'm talking about your very solid players, your Vesticars, in your midfield, and not Ward-Prowse. Basically, your core side that's kept Southampton very, very safe from getting anywhere near relegation. This might be the summer where one or two of those players might look elsewhere or be tempted by other avenues. So I'm going to go for a home win. I'm going to go for a decent West Ham win. I think they're just going to have the bit between their teeth in front of home fans. And I think that home fans this weekend, as it did last weekend, will mean an awful lot. So if it's going to be a slightly difficult game, maybe a bit close between one or two sides, I'm always going to go for the home side because of the home fans. And I can see it being a good 3-0 win.
Excellent. Oscar, how have you found West Ham? I mean, Souček in the midfield has been brilliant. Antonio is Antonio. When he's fit, he's a handful. And look, he has been a bit of a meme probably the last year, 18 months, but it's rejuvenated that Jesse Lingard. Who'd have thought? You play a guy, give him a bit of confidence, and he does really well. Maybe David Moyes is the football genius we all think.
It's a strange one, isn't it, West Ham? I mean, the key thing is what happens next season, what they do in the summer. Can they prove that this isn't a flash in the pan? Obviously, they had a similar season under Slaven Bilic, where Payet was just absolutely on fire. Similar in the way to what Souček's done, what Lingard's done. And then the next season didn't recruit very well. I think they brought in Zaza, a couple of other really poor signings, and then they obviously moved Stadium, a couple of other factors. It never really built from then. And you can't really trust that West Ham board to necessarily get it spot on. They have made a lot of mistakes over the years. So I think it's all about that now for West Ham. Obviously, they're going to finish in the top 6, unless they really do mess up on Sunday. But from what I've seen of Southampton, look, we've just played Southampton. All their chances that they did have in the game against us, of which they had quite a few, they all came from our goalkeeper. It wasn't a case of Sheffield United, our goalkeeper flapping on corners. That's all Southampton were able to sort of produce against us. So I am pretty confident West Ham win that game. But yeah, I think Declan Rice deserves a lot of credit as well. Declan Rice has proven to be a very reliable player in that middle of the park. I think the goalkeeper's done well for him. Craig Dawson's proved to be a really good signing. It's just a case of Soufal as well. We can't forget about Soufal at right back. I don't think there's anyone that's stood out individually as such. I think it's been a real big team effort from them. And I think obviously the one thing I would say about West Ham is they've won a lot of games by one goal. Very, very tight games, West Ham, they tend to be. They're not really blowing away a lot of teams. So that's where you kind of ask the question, can they repeat the feat next season? Will the margins go against them a little bit more? Because I think the fans not being in the ground has benefited West Ham, certainly at the start of the season. You know, obviously, they started the season, I think they got beat by Newcastle at home and then got beat by someone else. And they had a really dodgy start. Obviously, last season, they stayed up on the last day. So I think the fans might have started to turn a little bit on Moyes. He's had that little bit more time. But yeah, they've done well, West Ham. I think Moyes is definitely a shout for manager of the season. It's just a case of who they can keep. And it's the same for Southampton, really. Who can they keep? Are they going to lose the likes of Declan Rice? Will Southampton lose the likes of Danny Ings? I think both teams are in a very interesting summer. Very, very interesting summer. But 2-1 West Ham I'm going for here.
Okay. You're obviously reading Laura Duffy's comments, which I don't blame you because, you know, Laura does talk sense. West Ham did well this season because they didn't have fans. Because I do think that's going to be a factor next year. I do think some clubs, I think we're one of them, need a fan base to work off, whether they like us or hate us. Because I actually think having Burnley fans did us a favour. I think it gave us a bit of a G up. And there are some clubs who I do think, I'll say, to me, Man United, Everton and West Ham tend to do better when they haven't got fans of a stadium, but also who they can keep. So, Adam, how are you seeing this game?
Yeah, similar to the lads, it's kind of opposite ends of the scale with these two, isn't it? One team has massively overachieved to where you think they would finish, and I think Southampton have been a bit of a disappointment. You know, they started the season quite well. They were, you know, right up the top, weren't they? They were part of the A-team.
If it's the Red Steve, if it's the Red Steve, that's a new one, actually. I quite like that one. So
that's brilliant. But no, like you say, I think Southampton were, you know, flying pretty high towards the start of the season. And yeah, they've just kind of dropped like a stone, haven't they? And, you know, they were on the back of another 9-0 defeat. And, you know, one of them is bad enough, let alone two. You know, Leicester will know about the first one. But yeah, I think Hasenhüttl was quite fortunate to still be not really under any pressure. You know, I look at Southampton's team and there's no way they should be, 2-3 points off of 17th. You know, they should be at least mid-table. So I think West Ham definitely have had the most surprising season. You know, we've mentioned Lingard, we've mentioned Rice. Will those two be there next season? They've been linked with Oxlade-Chamberlain as well. So you need to get the recruitment right if they want to maintain, you know, top 6, top 8 going into next season. And now, you know, they may have Europe next year as well. So that's another thing to contend with. And the size of their squad probably may struggle. I think that's why they've done quite well this year, because they've just focused on, you know, one league game a week. So it's going to be an interesting one. In terms of the game, I agree with the lads. I think West Ham are going to get this one. And I'd probably say 2-1 as well. Cool.
What have I got for my prediction? Oh, I have 2-1 as well. We're obviously all reading the same hymn sheet. I do think that's the thing that's, I don't want to sound patronising, but teams who don't play in Europa League often, like if Liverpool do finish in Europa League, not count my chickens, but say if Liverpool finish in Europa League, I actually think you'll see Liverpool not sell many players. Whereas actually if we get the Champions League, I think we'll sell a lot. Because you do need a bigger squad. For some reason, Thursday, Sunday just seems to proper cripple teams. I don't get it, because it's no different doing a Wednesday, Saturday, but we just don't like it. So
it's psychological, isn't it? I think there's something psychological about it on the Thursday, Sunday.
Yeah, I think it is. So someone likes your comments. Adam, I don't know who this guy is. I believe he was on the show before. So yeah,
big shout out to Diogo's father, co-host on the radio.
No, he's good. He's really good, James. Right, a couple of quick fire ones. Fulham, Newcastle. I am going to go 2-0 Fulham because they got a crowd in, and Newcastle normally hate going to London. Pete,
I'm going to go for a Desmond. I think it's going to be a really good game. 2-2 Newcastle. Been playing well, scoring goals, conceding goals. Fulham, very similar in front of the home crowd. I would normally have gone for an away win, but because of the home crowd, it balances it back towards the draw. Plenty of goals. 2-2.
Cool. Oscar?
2-0 Newcastle. I think St. Maximan's been a big hit for them. I think there's Willock as well. Willock's been absolutely fantastic. Arsenal have got to try and keep him. 2-0 Newcastle. Fulham haven't got enough goals in them for me.
Okay. Adam?
Yeah, I agree. Mini revival from Fulham, wasn't it? But they've really fallen badly towards the end of the season. And Newcastle have picked up form at the right time. You know, they were getting dragged into the relegation zone and went on a really decent run. You know, that win at Leicester as well, which was really, really good. But yeah, like you say, St. Maximan, Willock's been on fire. So I see Newcastle win. Fulham have pretty much signed off already. I watched the Burnley game; they were really poor that night as well. So yeah, I'll go 2-0 Newcastle as well.
Okay. If you're Joe Willock, do you go back to Arsenal, or do you take a step back, but you get regular football, and then look to step back up in a year or two's time?
I'd stay. If it was me, I'd stay. I'd rather be making something of myself. If he's wanted to get in the England squad, why disappear into Arsenal's reserves when you're the main man? I think he scored 6 games in a row, which is a Premier League record.
Yeah.
Good thing. I think stick around.
You certainly looked at equaliser against us.
Don't you? If you're Joe Willock, you want some kind of guarantees in terms of playing time from Arteta.
Cool.
That's the thing. If you go back to Arsenal, you've got to go back as a first team player or involved in that first team 13, 14 squad, not just on the bench and the off chance you're going to come on the pitch. If he gets that, you go back to Arsenal every day of the week.
Yeah.
If you don't, then you go to Newcastle. That's on the basis that a deal can be done, because this summer it's not a done deal that any player on loan, because let's just say it was a normal year, then Willock, if he wanted to go to Newcastle, the deal would be done, job done, no worries. This summer that won't be the case in many deals because of obvious reasons with finances, etc. So it could well be that he has to go back.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the other reason he doesn't go back to Arsenal is I think the way he wants to play, I can't see him displacing Smith Rowe. If fair to Arsenal, I do think they've again got another good young player there if they can keep hold of him. Cool. Right, next quickfire game. City versus Everton, which could be interesting. Will City have one eye on the Champions League final, or because it's Everton and they're in horrendous form? I think James Rodriguez has again decided he's not playing. So, Adam, how are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I think City could play complete backups and still comfortably win this game, to be honest. And I know that's a Liverpool point of view on an Everton game, but like you say, City are going to definitely have one eye on that Champions League. And, they have rotated. They have lost a couple of games recently in the FA Cup and obviously to Brighton the other day. So I think they'll have a bit more fire in their belly. And Everton, really, they're not really playing for anything. They're kind of going to finish again, around 8th, 7th. I think you said they could even finish 10th, Chris, just off of there.
Yeah, keep that quiet though. Everton Twitter hasn't discovered me yet. I'm keeping that down. But yes, mathematically, they can do yes.
Yeah, I think clean sheet for City. I think maybe 1-0, something like that for City.
Yeah. Well, they have got something to play for, Pete, haven't they? Because isn't Richarlison on course for his 30-goal-a-season target that he was given at the start of the season?
I think, in a strange way, looking back on the season, Everton, overall, their home record's been very disappointing. So if you take the season as a whole and you bring back fans and you maybe seeing an uplift next season in their home form, if they can keep the away form going, then they should really progress towards the Europa League places and towards maybe even getting in the conversation around Christmas for the top. Who knows? And also with the new ground, etc. So I think overall this season's not been the worst season on record for Everton at all. I think it has been a work in progress. It just depends on how much money they're going to spend. It has been disappointing, though, after their good start. I just think in this game, it's very difficult to call. Who's going to play for Man City? Are they going to play their team that then runs out in the Champions League final? Are they going to get sentimental and play the likes of Aguero, etc., on his final game? I think it's going to be close. I'm going to go for a Man City win. I think it's going to be a goal, though, and I can see certainly Everton scoring. So I'm going to go for 2-1 City, and it's going to be that man Aguero, isn't it? He's going to get the final goal in the game by some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 City win. But I think Everton overall this season, as much as it's been a very strange season, which we'll talk about for every single club, I just think overall, looking back, it's maybe not been the worst season from my point of view. I think it's maybe not been the worst season on record. It would be very interesting with Everton and what they do in the summer, who they buy in, who they maybe get rid of in their squad, whether they can keep the likes of Calvert-Lewin or one or two others. It's going to be interesting. I think they've had a slightly better season than maybe the red side of Merseyside have give them credit for, or no credit.
Yeah, if you want to be honest, my opinion for Everton was they would and should be in the European spots. with the money they've spent, the squad they've spent. I think Everton is still, for me, paying for transfer mistakes of previous managers. Because let's be fair to Everton, it's not like they don't spend money. The likes of Richarlison that weren't cheap. They played decent wages for some decent players. It just hasn't quite worked out for it. Mac10, thank you very much. It's Love Follow Conquer if you want the t-shirt, and if they want to sponsor me, they're more than welcome to, because I quite like all their stuff. Adam, how are you seeing this game?
Which one was that? Sorry,
the City Everton game. What score are you going for that?
1-0. I said on that one.
1-0, did you? Sorry. Okay, I'll give you Sheffield United Burnley. God, that's a corker to watch, isn't it?
The championship game I've ever heard of it. That one, goodness me. I think Burnley have signed off. I think Sheffield United signed off about August, September time. 0-0 on that one.
0-0. I have 2-1 Sheffield, because if they play that lad in goal who played against Liverpool, even Sheffield might be able to get 2. I've never known anyone who can kick a ball in the net when it's kicked right at him. Pete, how are you seeing this game?
Funnily enough, I had very similar thoughts. It's the goalkeeper situation. I think they're actually their reserve goalkeeper. What's his name? Peacock something or other.
Bailey Peacock Farrell.
Yeah. He's
former Leeds.
He looked to be all right, because when you see him down on the team sheet for the few games he played, you think, hang on, what's this guy all about? Turned out actually to be not that bad, especially when you're behind someone like Pope, who's a very good goalkeeper. I agree. I would normally have gone with an away win here. I just think the goalkeeping situation, plus again the home fans, and also they've been in a position, because it's a little bit different to say. I think it's actually quite different in the Premier League this season to most, because the sides that have been relegated, really the writing was on the wall from a few weeks back. It's not been in the last week or so that they've actually gone down. It's kind of been confirmed for a little while, especially Sheffield United. So if you're a Sheffield United fan, you go into this game, you're not going into a doom and gloom situation in theory, because you've been down for an awful long time. It's all about what will happen next year, manager, etc., a new young centre forward scoring goals. So I think it's going to be a slightly different atmosphere in this game to what many people might expect. So I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go for 1-1, and maybe another ricket from the Burnley keeper.
Good. Just before we continue, Avi, I am not reading out your score prediction, because last time you were on this show and you predicted a score that big, we got beat 1-0 by Fulham. So you're a jinx lad.
That'll be fine.
Yeah, it would be for you. So you're a jinx lad. That's why I'm not reading you out. Adam, how are you seeing this?
Oh dear, which one we do it? We still have Sheffield United Burnley. Yeah,
we are. Yeah. 0-0. Sorry, Oscar. Sorry, I forget who I've asked. I've lost it. I've lost interest in this game already.
It's 1-0 Sheffield United, purely on the basis of playing in front of the fans. They can't afford to lose it, really, because then they've got to do a lap of honour. When they've almost broken the Premier League record for low points, they've surely got to win this one. I'll go 1-0. Brewster to finally get his first goal for Sheffield United.
No chance. No. It doesn't matter how bad that Burnley goalkeeper, whether he kicks it in or not. Nah.
We just sit on that 20 million for him.
Yeah, I know. It's the best bit of business we've ever done, that, isn't it? Right, let's go to a more interesting game. So one of the games which will have a tie on who finishes in Champions League or not. Villa versus Chelsea. I've seen a lot of pundits saying, well, Chelsea are top 4. It's Liverpool or Leicester now. I'm thinking people are overlooking Villa a little bit. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, they had a good result, didn't they, against Spurs last week, who aren't in great form either. But yeah, when you've got Grealish and Watkins on the team sheet, you've always got a chance, and especially at home, like you said, with fans as well, back for the last game. But I think Chelsea have had a little dip. They did lose to Arsenal, but I do see them still winning this game. When push comes to shove, they do need to get a result. As you said, if the other two win, and they don't, they could slip out. So they're going to have, 2 eyes on this game. I think it'll be close. I think 2-1 Chelsea, but I think they will get over the line.
Okay. In the chat, Kev Ball's got 1-1. Naguib Mohammed has got 2-2. Tom Bolland has gone for 2-1 Villa. Mac also has 2-1 Villa. And in fairness, Megan McCallan says 2-1 Villa. So to be honest, if Megan says it, you're sorted. And just to answer, yes, Avi, I did remember where the live button was this week. So, I'll keep that going. Oscar, let's talk about Villa Chelsea.
I think you're Chelsea and you had the choice of game to play on the last game of the season. Outside a club in the top 6, I think Villa's one of the last games you want to play when you need to win the game. Watkins, Grealish, We've seen what Grealish has done all season. You saw the lift he gave Villa against Tottenham. I know how bad Tottenham are, but Villa probably should have won that by more goals, in all honesty, against Tottenham. It was complete domination. I think the one thing Chelsea do lack is goals in their team, so it might be a bit tense. They might be putting a little bit of pressure on that back line to cope with Grealish. It's going to be key that Rudiger, I think, obviously, we've seen all season now, he steps out of that defence to try and deal with the number 10. We've seen it all season. He's got to win that battle against Grealish for me. And yeah, they've got to cut off the supply into Watkins, but there's a lot of good players in that Villa team. McGinn, Douglas Luiz, players I rate quite highly. Traore, I think, has got better as the season's gone on. So it's a nightmare game for Chelsea, really. But I still have that feeling they just get it done, Chelsea, other than last week. They just find a way to get games like that done. Like Real Madrid, just find a way to shut off these teams and just nick it 1-0. Timo Werner or someone like that just gets a goal on the counter. Probably will be Mason Mount, who steps up, actually. But I'm going to go 1-0 Chelsea here. Be a good game, but there won't be a lot of goals in it. And it will be tense right until the last minute for Chelsea, this one. 1-0 Chelsea.
Okay. Barry Devaney says, Grealish ain't fit for 90 minutes. Watching himself for the Euros, an easy 2-0 win for Chelsea. And Super Tiger has also said McGinn is a doubt, which is a big one for them. But the other I do think has been overlooked a little bit for Villa is Taggart. The two fullbacks, Cash and Taggart, I think have done really well.
Konsa as well.
Konsa's not been overlooked. We've been, I think, on the trips we've been trying to poach him all season.
Southgate.
Well, Trent Alexander-Arnold's been overlooked by Southgate, need more than I say. Pete, how are you seeing Villa-Chelsea? Can you see Chelsea resting players like a Thiago? Keep his legs fit, ready for the final?
No, not at all. I think they'll go as strong as they can, really. A couple of points have been mentioned. I had down, if you were going to play any side outside the top six away, Villa would be one of the worst teams to play because of the players coming back, because of Villa Park having fans in, and also they're in decent form. I'd also just take up Barry's point there about Grealish. I think the complete opposite. I think Grealish will want to play and play well to just get himself into that England squad, to prove himself to Southgate, just that he is actually fit. So I think he'll, rather than be dodging out of tackles, I think that's just his natural game anyway. I think he'll want to actually prove his fitness and put on a bit of a show. I hope so. I'm sitting here wearing a blue shirt. So from my point of view, this is the game that Leicester can get into the top four. Not Liverpool. They'll win. That's fine. This is the game that we'll be looking at. I think the main problem, to be honest, might well be ourselves, but we'll come to that later. I'm going to go for a draw. I think Villa will be at full pelt. I think the fans is one thing. Villa Park, it's a fantastic stadium. And with fans in, it's going to echo around there. It normally does, because there's normally, when I've been, there's not really been a completely full attendance, so it won't be too dissimilar. But I think overall, Chelsea, when you're playing a game before a final, whether it's the Champions League, whether it's the FA Cup, whatever, even if you're Chelsea, if you're Liverpool, if you're the biggest signs in the world, you might have that one eye on the cup final. When it's the Champions League final, even though this is a very, very important game, and we saw how important it was the other day, I think there might just be that 2 or 3% for Chelsea looking at the game at the weekend. So I think they might have what Barry said about Grealish to do with Chelsea. That other 2 or 3% might come from the home fans for Villa. I'm going to go for 1-1, and I'm going to go for that man Grealish to score. He's going to be the person to decide this. Also, I'll just throw into the hat, Aston Villa have got a really, really exciting group of youngsters, and 1 or 2 came off the bench against Spurs. So that for next season will be interesting. They've got 2 or 3 which really do look very, very good indeed. So just something for next year to bear in mind with Villa. They're a club going places.
Yeah, well, we're going to have a few of them in the FA Youth Cup as well against Liverpool, which I think that's going to be a fun game. That so, I also have I've gone for a 2-2 because having seen it happen to Liverpool, I've seen it happen to Chelsea. It happened to Arsenal when they got to a Champions League final. You can't help but have one mind on a Champions League final. They don't come around very often to get into one. And I just feel sometimes if you're slightly off it, That's what you need. The ideal for them would have been something like Sheffield United at home. That's what you pray for if you've got like something for a Champions League final. So I also think Villa have got the better keeper. Mendy, I just think he's okay. Kepa is just a disaster waiting to happen. Whereas for me, Martinez, I do think is also one of the other keys that's going to help them. So I'm going to go for a 2-2. Right, Cookfires. Leeds versus West Bromwich Albion, who apparently are looking for a manager because he's only there for the short term, because apparently that's how the media's painted him. Actually having a pair of bollocks and going down to Championship and actually trying to bring a club up. That's kind of what you could have done to Big Sam, but you have to do what the media tells you, apparently. So anyway, enough of my ranting. Pete, how are you seeing this?
Home win. My man Rafinha's back for Leeds, back playing well again. So it's going to be a home win. I think this might be slightly demoralising on West Brom. I think the West Brom job, and I've said before on this on this podcast before many times, that I think the West Brom job will be a really good job to take. Someone like Lampard have said, instead of going somewhere like Palace, go West Brom. Really good club. You've got the basis of a squad there to come straight back up. You look at that Championship without the sides who have been promoted automatically, without maybe say Brentford rolled in there as well, or Bournemouth who might go up by the playoffs. It's not the strongest Championship in the world. So that's a really good job if they can keep the core of that side together. In this game, I don't think it will matter at all, because I think Leeds will steamroll them. I think with the crowd there, this will be, on top of the Villa Park atmosphere, arguably the best atmosphere, because there will be a chomping of the bit of all Leeds fans. You can imagine being a Leeds fan and not being able to get into the ground this season. There'll be wanting.
I'd know nothing about that, Pete.
Well, yeah, but if I was a Leeds fan, it would be incredible, because you must have been just watching that on TV week in week out. I just want to see that. How exciting they've been. They've been everyone's second or third favourite team to watch on TV. Maybe not overall, but just for pure entertainment. I'm going to go for the big 5. I'm going to go for 5-1. So not a clean sheet, but I'm going to go for 5. I'm going to the crowd to roar them on, and Rafinha to pull out even more tricks from a very, very deep bag of tricks. Shame he's going to be wearing a Leicester City shirt next season, but there we go.
Yeah, look at that, Pete. So look at that. Sorry, Oscar. He's been nice to you, and he's 2-footed you twice there, isn't he? It's like a smiling assassin, isn't it?
I know. Yeah.
Anyway, I'll make you wait for your lead score. Adam, how are you seeing this? Let's waffle on for a bit. Make him wait.
Oh, absolutely. Leeds have been in great form, haven't they? And like you say, they have been indifferent. At the start, they were great to watch, but they were so open at the back at times this season. But they look like they've done well recently. Some of the defenders have even started to get on the score sheet, haven't they, with Dallas as well? So been really impressed with them. Guaranteed a top 10 finish. And on the other hand, West Brom, they might as well have stuck with Bilic. They pressed the panic button early doors, went with Allardyce, and have we seen the end of this little crop of managers that pop in for the short term and suddenly save the club? The Pulises, the Pardews. Is it the time that Allardyce is now? Look how hard Dyche has had to work. You look at that's probably the most similar kind of style. He's been at Burnley for years, and they're going to finish probably one place above relegation. So I think we might have seen the end of these 6-month managers, and hopefully that is the end of them, because I don't really particularly enjoy that style of management or football. But no, I see Leeds winning this one 2-0. Carry on their really, really good recent form, and yeah, West Brom have got a bit of work to do. They'll probably be straight back up next season, no matter who they get, because of all the parachute payments and everything else. But yeah, Leeds will win this one, I think.
Okay. Sadly, I think with Sir Allardyce, he's like a villain in a horror movie. He just keeps coming back. Trust me. My bet is Palace will go for a progressive manager when Roy leaves. They'll give him 10 games, and then they'll bring in Sam, because that's the pattern, and that tends to be what it is. So what have I got? I've got 3-0 Leeds, because it's Leeds at home and it's West Brom. So, nobody cares about West Brom. Well, they might do now, because there's no Sir Allardyce. Oscar, how are you seeing this game? I'm assuming you're going for a 2-2. Is that right?
I'm going for a 3-1. 3-1 Leeds. I think I would say clean sheet, but it is Kiko Casilla tax, I think we can call it. It's he kept a clean sheet somehow against Southampton. He tried his best to get Southampton a goal, but I think we will concede. But I'm going to go 3-1. It looks like we might play a slightly weaker team than usual. Gaetano Berardi, Pablo Hernandez, two absolutely superb servants for this football club, are going to play their final game. They're probably going to start the game. I'm hoping Pablo's going to be absolutely fired up and gets himself that goal in front of 8,000 Leeds fans, because he's the man that got us into this league in the first place. He's hardly played this season at all. It would be the fairy tale ending that we all want. We all want something to happen for Pablo, just in front of the fans, to have that final goodbye. And I'm hoping it does happen. I can't wait to see him and Rafinha on the pitch at the same time. Jack Harrison from the left. It's a very exciting lineup, hopefully, that we're going to play. Rodrigo might even start up top. Again, Rodrigo Moreno is a number 9 for me. If we're going to play him, I don't think him and Bamford in the same team works long term. It's got to be one or the other. Maybe we might see Rodrigo start the game, but I'm still confident that we can win this game 3-1. I think against Southampton, we weren't particularly good. We were decent, but not particularly good. But we got the job done. We're finding a way now to grind results out when we don't play too well as well. So it's all looking good. You know, even if we don't win this game, the worst comes to the worst, we lose this game, we still go into that summer with plenty of confidence that we're definitely making good progress and a bit of good recruitment. We've played the whole season without a left back, an out-and-out left back, without an out with that number 10. I think if we get the recruitment right in them areas, we can possibly kick on again, or at the very least, repeat what we've done this season, which will do me very nicely. 3-1 Leeds.
Okay. Just to help Barry out, is Bamford going to start? He needs to know fancy football. So if you get this wrong, Barry's coming after you.
The trouble is, Barry, in a normal circumstance, it would be Bamford starting because Bielsa would very rarely make the changes. But I just have that feeling because of the subs he made. Maybe, I can't guarantee it. It's 50-50. It is, honestly. I don't want to sit on the fence, but I'm going to sit on the fence anyway. But it is 50-50. I think the thing with Rodrigo is he's hardly played second half of the season and he wants to get in the Spain squad like anyone would. They want to play in the Euros. And he was Spain's number 9. First choice number 9 before coming into us. So it's obviously between him and Morata. And I have that feeling that Bielsa might just give Rodrigo a bit of a chance up top, maybe from the start, maybe off the bench, just to get himself another couple of goals, hopefully against West Brom, to really push himself back into that Spain contention. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say, to be honest.
Oh, you see, you just killed Barry there now.
I don't know, Barry. I don't know.
Barry's up all night now going, what do I do? What do I do?
Go for Rafinha. Just go for Rafinha.
Of course he starts. He's got to start. He's their main man. I know the other chap, he wants to play, but nah, Bamford starts. If he's fit, he starts.
See,
Spain's fallen a long way, haven't they, from Torres and Villa and Raul?
I know it is a bit of a drop off. It is a little bit of a drop off. Anyway, let's not upset Oscar. Let's not upset Oscar anymore.
Raul didn't score 2 at Burnley in like 20 minutes.
True. Didn't do bad in the Champions League though.
Yeah, but could he do it in a cold Saturday afternoon at Turf Moor?
Good question.
He did it in the cold. He did it in the cold German league though, didn't he? For Schalke.
Yeah, he was good there.
So there's always that outside of it. Anyway, next quickfire one. Arsenal, who miraculously can finish in Europe, which with the season, I thought Liverpool had a bad season, but Christ, they could actually finish above Tottenham. So they're at home to Brighton, who are the most entertaining but frustrating sides to watch I've ever seen. They play lovely football until they get to the shooting part, and then it falls apart. So, Adam, what score are you going for this one?
I think this is going to be the entertaining one of the weekend, so guaranteed it'll be 0-0 now, but I'm going to go 3-2 Arsenal. Brighton, like you say, they had a great result against Man City, didn't they? But yeah, I think Arsenal have finished quite strongly. You know, they're on a good little run. They won midweek, and yeah, I think looking at Spurs, they could potentially finish above them. I think they are going to give it everything, and you imagine if they actually do. I know a lot of Spurs fans. If Arsenal come above them, I just don't know what else to say about Tottenham Hotspur anymore. But I think 3-2 Arsenal. Maybe Pepe, he scored a really good goal the other day as well. So I will back Arsenal in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Paul Matt, who appears in this show, and bless him, he does half try his hardest to be positive with Tottenham, which fair play to him. But I thought he'd be on tonight. We give him a bit of counselling. Oscar, What score are you going?
2-0 Arsenal. 2-0 Arsenal, I think. They've had a decent finish to the season. Decent-ish, but you just can't ever get too carried away with Arsenal. Whenever they look like they're maybe starting to turn things around a little bit, they just mess it up. They go out into the go out of the Europa League to Villarreal. I don't know. But I've got that feeling that they'll finish above Tottenham. They do it. They somehow do it every single season. They
haven't done it for a while. They haven't
done it for a while. I know, but Tottenham were good under Pochettino. Now Tottenham are back to where they were. They're both trying to just outdo each other again. But yeah, I don't know. I'm getting those kind of vibes that Arsenal will just about finish above Tottenham. They'll celebrate it like mad on Arsenal Fan TV. Then they'll make a couple of signings, one for 50 mil, one for about 40 mil. They'll be like the next top quality players. They'll be world class. They'll be this, they'll be that. And then they'll do absolutely nothing because that's what Arsenal do. Season in, season out. They'll finish about seventh or eighth. They've done it for so long now. They'll win this one 2-0 and finish up around 7th or 8th.
Cool. Pete, what score are you seeing for this one?
I had 2-0 as well. Nil being the optimum word here, really, because I still think Brighton are on the verge of being a European side if they have someone who can stick the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis. If I was in charge at Brighton, you go out and you spend the money on a centre forward or two. The rest of the side's fine, absolutely fine. It's their big problem. It's going to be their problem again. I think Arsenal will just win 2-0 in a game where I can't see it being fast or furious or any such way important to any of the players, even though Arsenal can finish above Spurs. I think both sets of players will be just coasting through this. And I think just the extra quality with Arsenal will tell. And also the fact that Brighton can't score in a month of Sundays, let alone this Sunday. So I'm going to go for 2-0 in probably the most meaningless game this weekend.
I've got a nervy 2-1 to Arsenal. I think Brighton will take the lead and Arsenal do what they did against Palace, score 2 goals quite late, which, to be honest, gives them a bit of a joy, actually, for what's happened this season. Right, last quick fire question before I start doing some admin. The game, actually, which Pete and Oscar will know best, when I sent the agenda out, I forgot about this game, because that's how much I cared about it. Wolves at home to Man United. Wolves, it's now sort of a new twist, this game, because it's Nuno's last game in charge. It was announced now he is leaving. Is he staying in the Premier League? We'll probably discuss that in a bit. So, Pete, Wolves versus Man United.
Yeah, it really does change it. Now, compared to Man City and for Chelsea, I think United will rest players. I can't see any reason why you would play any of your stars. So I think there's going to be a changed United side. I was going to go home win. I was going to go for narrow 1-0 Wolves home win. With the news that Nuno's going, I was trying to work out whether that would actually affect the way that they would play in terms of going for a 1-0. I just think the overriding factor in this game will be United and will be United's side. I think they will play not a reserve side, not quite the side that actually played us in the league at Old Trafford. I think there will be plenty of changes, though, which I don't think anyone will really question. You know, why, if you're going to be in the same position in the league as you would be even if you lost. So I think there's going to be 6 or 7 changes, but I'm still going to go for a 1-0. So 1-0 home win to send the Portuguese manager back to Portugal, because I think it's going to be a straight swap with the Benfica manager. I think it's already been done. So there's going to be a straight swap. So 1-0 to Wolves. And it'll be interesting to see how they get on next year with a new manager, whoever the manager is, even if it's, let's just say it's an unbelievable name turns up at Wolves. It's still going to be a big question mark, because even though they've done extremely well,
it's a bit of a rebuild job
with some good players and with plenty of money and with plenty of shenanigans behind the scenes, plenty of leverage from agents, etc. You know, they've been given a lot of good players. They have done well overall, but a new manager, who knows? It's not like they've been in the Premier League for 6 or 7 years and they're established. So it's still going to be big question marks over whoever comes in, especially if it's a guy with no Premier League experience, because even though Nuno didn't have, he came up with that side. So question marks, but 1-0 to Wolves against the depleted United.
So you think Man United will lose their first away game in over a year, actually. They haven't lost a away game this season.
I think it's about 1997, I think it was.
It feels like that sometimes, doesn't it? You know, it was probably penalty down as well. Oscar, how are you seeing this game?
1-1, I think. 1-1. I think the problem with Wolves is Jimenez. Obviously, losing Jimenez to that injury. I think they were actually doing pretty well up to that point. It looked like they were going to have another season like they have before, you know, in terms of finishing 7th or 8th. Getting into that Europa League position, they were very well placed. I think Jimenez, when he got that injury, they'd just beaten Arsenal, I think, away from home. It was obviously David Luiz. And I think they were about 6th or 7th at that point in the season. Forgive me if I'm wrong there, but it felt like they were still doing pretty well. Nuno's it's a difficult one because you lose Jota, you lose Doherty, you lose Jimenez, as I've just mentioned. And I think who else they lost last season? Lost someone else quite big last season.
And they've lost Neto for the last 3 months with his knee. Yeah,
they lost someone else as well last season, but I can't quite remember who it was. He's had bad luck this season. I think Nuno. It's hard to say just how good he is, and just what Wolves will do next season without him. But I think the next manager, if Jimenez is back fit, which it sounds like he will be, albeit with obviously, some kind of protective equipment on his head and that lot, he still should be a top quality player. You know, I do thoroughly believe Jimenez is one of the best strikers in the league. So I think it makes the job a lot easier. So I think it's more out the 2 clubs that have changed managers already. In terms of Hodgson leaving Palace, Nuno leaving Wolves. I think it's Palace who I'm a little bit more concerned of out the 2. But Wolves is still an interesting one. It could go either way. I saw a mention of Gerrard before. Gerrard would probably be a really good fit, to be honest, in terms of that. That's probably the right fit for him as a manager, you know, in terms of that step up before potentially 2024 when Klopp's contract runs out. Maybe have a couple of years at Wolves, see what he can do there. I mean, that's a possibility.
Well, I'll ask Adam. My opinion is I don't see Gerrard leaving Rangers until at least next summer. I think, to be fair, if you've got a whole season undefeated, got them back into the Champions League.
Yeah,
I think he's got like 2 Europa League quarterfinals. I'm sure he's going to test himself, say, what can I do with this squad in the best European competition? So I don't think the time is quite work out for it. I could be wrong. It won't be the first time. It certainly won't be the last. Adam, so how are you seeing this game?
You have to look at like Brendan Rodgers, though, when obviously Brendan Rodgers had the chance to get the treble of trebles, I think it was, Pete. With Brendan Rodgers.
But they were shit in Europe. He'd done 3 years in Champions League and knock off out of the. In fact, I don't think he even got into the Champions League. I think a couple of times he fell over in the group stage.
I think they had the 2 group stages to get through or whatever. But no, he left before I think they'd won one of the trophies and they were basically miles clear in the others and all that sort of thing. But yeah, he left. But then again, he made the right decision, didn't he? So.
I like you say, just touching on the Gerrard thing, I was having this chat with my co-host earlier. He doesn't think that he should go straight to Liverpool from Rangers, but personally I do. I think 2021, you know, we're talking about 3 years potentially he could take the big Liverpool job. I don't see him managing against Liverpool in the league. I see him like I think he will stay at Rangers, especially now he's got them to where, you know, they kind of expect to be. You know, they've been miles behind, and what a job he's done since he's moved there. And like you say, now in the Champions League as well, whether they'll qualify or not, I don't know if they have to play a qualifying game or not. They probably do to get into the group stages. But yeah, I mean, I kind of look at it like the kind of, you know, the Alex Ferguson, he came from Aberdeen straight to United, didn't he? And, you know, it was a pretty seamless change. So I think he'll stick around at Rangers until that Liverpool job comes up. And I think Rangers will have another couple of titles. I think Liverpool will be ready to take him. So I look forward to that day, because I think Gerrard, as much as I love Jurgen Klopp, I can't wait to see Stevie G back at Anfield. But in terms of the United Wolves game, I think the United team will be very similar to the lineup that they played against Leicester when they had that crazy 3 games in 5 days, and you know they only just lost that one, and Leicester are a top side. So Wolves have been in poor form, you know, recently as well as all season. And like we were saying, you take Jota and Jimenez out, it's like taking Son and Kane out of Spurs, pretty much. You know, look at the difference that would make to them. You know, they're already shocking. So I still think Nuno's done a very good job with very limited resources this season. I don't think that they've brought in the same quality of player that you know that they needed to compared to the players that they've lost. Adama Traore's not had a season that you would expect either. You know, he's very reliant on having Jimenez to aim for, I think, with his crosses into the box, and you know, that's not really been there. So I think United's away form has been amazing. I think they will just about nick this 1-0 as well, even with wholesale changes.
Okay. What score are you going?
I'll go 1-0.
1-0. I did have 3-1 United till I heard the Nuno news, and I've kind of edged towards more a 2-2 now because I think they'll go for him. Plus, there is the added fact that United may have to play their second and third choice centre back, which, according to Gary Neville, is pretty much unheard of, and I'm not quite sure how they're going to cope with it, to be honest. So, it's a bit of just that. For me, I mean, we could probably do a whole pod on this. I personally think for Gerrard, he needs a step between Rangers and Liverpool. For me personally, but we'll see how it has. Because I believe Graham Souness did that, where dominated the league in Scotland when Scotland was a lot more of a competitive league, and it didn't quite work out at Liverpool. And Liverpool were in a much better state now, so that may be helping them. But we will see. Right, bits of admin for me. Please smash the like button. It does help us. It helps the channel. It gets more eyes on the channel. So if you can smash the like button, that'll help. If Megan McCallum's in the chat, she can tell me where we're up to. That'd be nice to know, so I can see how well we're doing. Remember now, the website is live. So if you do want to write an article for our website, links in the description below. Please write your article. Literally, all we'll do is spell check it, make sure it's legible, and then off you go. It doesn't have to be Liverpool focused. We've got all sorts of sport-related articles. It doesn't have to be Liverpool focused. It gives you an opportunity there. And for those of you, in case you missed it last night, we have a new appeal starting, which is Sienna Steps. I'm sure Gav will be giving you a lot more information on this on Sunday in the Fatback 4. But if you just go onto the LFC Daytrippers Twitter page, it's our pinned tweet. This is to raise money for a young girl, Sienna. She needs some treatment in America, and she needs to raise £120,000. So we did it for Keane. So this is the new one now. So get your thinking caps on. Please, if you can donate. If you can't donate, just reshare it. Let's get as many people seeing it. The hashtag is Sienna Steps. So if we could push that as much as we can, that'd be great. According to Kevin Sullivan, there are 73 likes in the chat. So far, there's 180 of you in the chat. So come on, guys, come on, a few more likes, or Oscar might take his hat off if you get to 100. Right, let's talk for the big game: Leicester versus Spurs. Spurs, who are absolute dog shit against Villa. so much so that Villa.
That's generous, mate.
I think so. So much so that Villa played two 15-year-olds last 10 minutes, and to be honest, one of them nearly scored an absolute beaut. They were an absolute mess. And Ryan Mason, I only realised before, he's not even 30, is he?
Younger than me.
Yeah, yes, I mean, he's not even 30, and he's managing. He's got the Spurs manager's job on a temporary basis. It just feels like you've set yourself up for a fall there. I mean, I love the fact that and this is something I found recently. Apparently, when Tottenham did they do the walk around at the end of the wave to fans, say thank you very much and all that. They made the fans wait an hour while they went and got changed. And they're all in the upper tier as well, so they can't get near them. What a way to inspire the club.
God.
Not so. And then we've got Leicester, who, Pete, I believe they won a cup. Which you're all quite happy about. Don't worry, I will give you your time to bask in the glory of your first FA Cup. But then, unfortunately, in fairness, as I heard you on the Anfield Wrap predict, it didn't quite go for you how they wanted in the Chelsea game. I think it finished 2-1, you predicted. So, Adam, how are you seeing this game? Do you think Leicester are going to win 5-0?
No, it's a tricky one.
I tried, Pete. I tried.
I think probably a draw. I'm thinking a 1-1 or a 2-2. I think Harry Kane. I know he's muted it. He wants to leave. I don't think the money's involved with 3 years left is going to help him in his quest to move clubs. But yeah, I mean, Leicester are relying on other results. As we said, Pete thinks Chelsea might draw, which potentially opens the door to Leicester to knock Chelsea out. But like we said, I think Chelsea have just got that little bit in them when push comes to shove. So I think they'll do it. And I think Leicester, I just feel that they're going to get a 1-1 or a 2-0 in this game and just not quite make it. Hopefully they don't go 2-3, 4-0 up and we're still 0-0 with Palace and we can start sweating. But it's a real shame. Leicester for 2 years have been incredible. So to not get into the Champions League is very, very cruel, compared to how bad we've been in our own standards. But, the league table doesn't lie. I think they're just going to narrowly miss out, but I'll go for 1-1, Iheanacho and Kane, something like that.
Okay. Oscar, how are you seeing this?
Tottenham are a mess. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they are complete...
Don't mince your words, mate.
There's no other word for it. Eric Dyer on Wednesday wasn't it? I think that first half performance is quite possibly the worst individual display I think I've seen all season, to be honest. I mean, he's still going to go the Euros, though, isn't he? Oh, he was Villa's best playmaker. He was Villa's best playmaker. He created most of Villa's chances himself.
I don't know. I mean, that Reguilon finish.
Reguilon tried his best as well.
Tremendous
that is possibly the greatest own goal I've seen. It was brilliant.
Jimmy Traore ran him close.
Yeah, dip and swerve and all sorts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a back heel, but I mean, that top corner from distance, I mean, it takes some doing that.
Good finish.
Anyway, sorry, Oscar, you were halfway through.
I want to have a go at how much of a mess Tottenham are. I mean, obviously, the star man, Kane. I'll be honest, I'm not actually that impressed with what Kane's been kind of saying. I think it doesn't come across that good, to be honest. It says you're England captain, you're kind of going around the golf course, talking to Gary Neville, you're saying things like, oh, the club won't get 100 million from me in 2 or 3 years' time. Yeah. Then you're talking about KDB, how much of a striker's dream he is, basically insinuating, I want to play a KDB in that lot. I'm thinking, yes, I think it's perfectly reasonable that Kane wants to go. I think he's been a bit too loyal. I think he probably should have gone. He probably should have gone after that Champions League final. I think it was pretty obvious at that point that was the high point for Tottenham. The way they finished that season wasn't great. It was just the Champions League final masked over a lot of problems that were clear. That Poch wasn't getting the players he wanted. Kane and Son probably should have gone with Poch at that point. I think they probably should have all gone at that point. But he stayed loyal. Who knows? Did he stay?
No one made him sign a contract.
That's true. That's true.
We accused Zaha of this. He said he wanted to leave and he couldn't leave. You're like, well, no one made you sign a long-term contract.
No, that's true. I mean, I think with Daniel Levy as well, you've got to kind of be a little bit more aggressive in your approach to leave the club. Obviously, when Bale left, when Modric left to Madrid, they were quite aggressive as well. I think they refused to turn up to training, things like that. That'll probably have to be what Kane does, because I can't see a situation where before the Euros, this is sorted out. I just don't see that happening. I think it will drag on. Obviously, there's been talk about Abraham possibly being a swap for Chelsea, Jesus at Man City, Martial at Man United, Icardi at PSG. It's all the talk at the minute, isn't it?
The Chelsea deal I heard was Tammy Abrahams and Timo Werner plus 10 million. So
and Timo Werner?
Yeah, so it's about a £20 million deal, which feels a bit undervalued, but that's the rumor going around.
Wow, that's
I thought they want a striker in return, though. Really,
apparently they'll be all right. They just want lads who look all right. So
not just the one who can run around a bit.
So to be fair, I mean, we could take Mick out of there. First, Abraham, isn't he their top goal scorer?
Yeah.
So Abraham's probably done all right.
I think Abraham's a good player. I think if in terms of Tottenham trying to replace Kane, I think an Abraham or Calvert-Lewin's probably the best they can hope for. If I'm being honest, I can't see them.
I think
getting.
I think if Kane moves, I think it's going to start a little bit of a merry-go-round. And Calvert-Lewin, I think
Son's the next as well to go after that.
Yeah, Kane goes, Son goes.
I think so, yeah. So anyway,
what's good? And Dembele might go as well. They're going to get battered, Tottenham. I can't see anything other than Tottenham getting absolutely battered here, but not quite enough for the goal difference to come into play for me. Probably 3-0 Leicester. I think 3-0 Leicester. I'm just not seeing how Tottenham are going to cope with Iheanacho and Vardy running at them. Just as soon as Eric Dyer makes a mistake, Iheanacho is going to pounce on it. I think he's probably been the second best striker in the league after Kane for me. Iheanacho has very much gone under the radar. Some of the goals he scored have been ridiculous. They're safe at the back as well, Leicester, in terms of Fofana. I think can do a job on a slightly demotivated Harry Kane. 3-0 Leicester. I think they'll batter Tottenham here, to be honest.
Okay. I have a tight 2-1 because I just think nerves might come into it. I do think Kane will score, but I do think Leicester will win. I can't see anything other than a Leicester win, to be honest. So, right, Pete, let's talk about the game, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about the FA Cup.
Well, I had 2-1 down, and funny enough, I had 2-1 Leicester to win, but Harry Kane to score. Obviously, he always scores against Leicester. It's a very strange game. Spurs, we know about Spurs, and everyone's mentioned everything to do with Spurs. But from a Leicester point of view, very awkward game because it's out of their hands. They need the win, but they know in the back of their minds they had the chance then against Chelsea in the league to put it in their own hands. So what happens elsewhere? Nowadays, it's not the sort of time where you used to have to listen and have someone sat behind the dugout with a transistor radio. Everyone knows now what's going on. So if Chelsea go up early, if Liverpool score early, what effect's that going to have on the game? I can see Spurs scoring. I really can. I think Leicester are going to go and win the game, though. I think they will have too much quality. I think at the back, it'll be interesting to see whether Evans plays. I don't think he will for the injury that he managed to play, half an hour in the cup final with. So, but the way that Fofana and Soyuncu have played together, even though at times slightly rocky, but that's understandable with their age and the fact that they haven't played together. But Fofana in the last few games has just been sensational. Going further forward, again, Iheanacho's continuing his brilliant form, and it's not a purple patch now. I always kept on saying, I know he scored 6 goals in 3 games, 8 goals in 5, but this is just a purple patch from a player. It's not. It really isn't. He's now elevated into a top Premiership striker, which he didn't before. Top Premier League striker when he was struggling before. I think it's going to be 2-1 for Leicester, but then again, when you're dealing in a scenario where you're looking at 2 other games, who knows? If all of a sudden Villa go 1-0 up with half an hour to go and Leicester's 2-0 up or 3, who knows what could happen? So to make a prediction in these games is quite awkward, but I'm going to go for a narrow Leicester win. I don't think it's going to be easy.
That's all right. I thought you were going to abstain from giving a result there. So that's not how the show works, mate. You've really missed this part. So
2-1, but Kane to score. He's going to be the one player running around all over the place. If it is his last game, which I think it probably will be for Spurs.
Yeah, we'll talk about Kane when we think about it.
Go on about Kane in terms of Southgate. Just to talk a little bit about England. How is Kane England captain? It's got to be Henderson.
Because he's the national treasure.
Yeah, but
Henderson's a better leader, isn't he?
Yeah,
Henderson's just a leader, isn't he? Kane, for me, fantastic player. He's one of the best strikers in the world, but that doesn't necessarily make you a great leader. I just don't look at Kane, and he says all these things, in that interview and that lot, and I'm looking at him thinking, when he's saying stuff like some of the players didn't have the mentality for it, I'm thinking, hang on, Harry, what about your record in the big games? What about his record in the big games?
I mean, did you watch All or Nothing with men? They were quite inspirational, those team talks just before half-time he gave.
What he's talking about, but he's having to go at other players for not turning up in big games. I can't remember the last time Harry Kane turned up in a game where it really matters. That's my big criticism of Kane in that kind of sense. So for me, if I'm looking at a Southgate, I'm thinking Kane, he might be a little bit distracted. Give Henderson the armband for me. For the Euros. I just think he's a far, far better leader.
Just because I want a quiet weekend, that's at Oscar's views, not mine. Because I just want a quiet weekend. So
I think
come on, there's no argument.
I think it might be an error.
We're Liverpool fans. We would say
armband off the England centre forward before the Euros. I don't think that will go down very well.
No.
To be honest.
Look, there's that. But he shouldn't have got it in the first place for me.
No.
He shouldn't have got it in the first place.
I'm never a fan of strikers as captains, but I prefer a centre half or a centre mid. But each to their own. I mean, I couldn't care less really. It's England, so I lose interest very, very quickly.
He still should have squared it to Sterling. I'll still say the same thing. I'll never be able to fully like Harry Kane because he still should have squared it to Sterling.
Yeah, but he probably missed from a yard. Sterling
that's true. That's true.
If it's a worldie, Sterling will get it. If it's a tapping for 5 yards, he won't. It's just sadly for him, it just seems to be how it is. Right, so let's go on to the Liverpool game. And let's be honest, I can be cocky about this because I still thought we had a chance, but a lot of us thought, well, bloody, this will be all right. Damp squid this. We'll have 10,000 fans in the stadium going, yay, we're 8th. But we're 4th. It's happened, I mean, now let's be honest, it's not happened the way we all thought, I don't want to be relying on the goalkeeper scoring an absolute world of a header again, but, Big Nat Phillips just keeps improving. So Adam, because we're the Liverpool fans, we have to go last, because we're very giddy and, we get very excitable. So, Pete, bring us down to earth. Come on.
Straightforward Liverpool win 4-0. Eze missing for Palace. That's a big injury for them looking for next season. I know it's Uncle Roy's last game, but I don't think it's going to be a problem for Liverpool. If they score early, it could well be a big score. But I'll stick with the 4. So Liverpool, no problems at all, 4-0, as much as it would be nice if it was the other way around, 1-0 maybe. But no, really, with my reality hat on, I'll go for 4.
That's nice. I'll ask each of you this as well. Should Liverpool give Roy Hodgson a lovely send-off? I mean, like a nice clap or something like that. Adam, we'll come to you, mate, because I know what we think. What's your opinion, Pete?
Because he did say he's going to retire from top flight management. Now, does that mean he might go somewhere else or whatever? If he said,
sorry, it was an open goal. I couldn't resist.
If he says before the game or tomorrow or whatever, if he says before the game, I am retiring from football. I'm 73 years old. I'm retiring now, no more. I can't see any reason why not. I know he's a former Liverpool manager that didn't go very well, but I think you look at his career. I know it didn't work out with England, but former England manager, his whole career, I think someone like Roy Hodgson should be given a guard of honour for his last game if he's going to retire. If he's not retiring, then no, because it's just the manager leaving the club. So if he's retiring, I can't see any reason why not.
Okay. Oscar?
I think the problem is, I think any other away ground, I think it's very possible, but we've got to remember that Roy Hodgson spent an entire transfer deadline day trying to sign Carlton Cole as backup or replacement for Fernando Torres.
And Kenwyne Jones.
Kenwyne Jones, sorry, yeah. So
I think he was a good player, Kenwyne Jones.
For Liverpool, though, Carlton Cole was decent, but not as like a backup for Fernando Torres. He was decent, nothing more, nothing less.
Oh, it's like bad flashbacks, isn't it? Oh.
Just remember that whole deadline day. You already got Christian Poulsen and Paul Konchesky through the door, but yeah, look, I mean,
and Paul Konchesky's lovely mother. Oh,
yeah. What was it? I won't say exactly what she said on there.
No,
on Facebook or something.
Yeah, she wasn't She wasn't like
it was pretty derogatory, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we said her son was crap. I mean, to be fair, crap was quite polite, to be honest.
That's quite a nice way of putting it, really. But look, I think he probably should still get a clap because he's a nice man. There's no denial about that.
No, he's not.
Is he not?
No, he's not.
See, I don't know the inside. I don't know the inside story. But from the outside, he just looked out of his depth for England, Liverpool, any kind of top club after Inter Milan. He kind of looked out of his depth, to be fair, where the expectation was a bit higher. He had to play a little bit more on the front foot. It's not really how Roy plays. It's always been a little bit more pragmatism, sitting back, counter-attacking like he has done with Palace, like he did with West Brom, and other jobs. But yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think he might be a little bit motivated to upset Liverpool fans one more time. But no. Palace haven't got the tools for it without Eze. Defensively, they've not been as solid this season. And Salah, when you need someone to step up in a big game, there's no one out of the 3 teams who are pushing for that top 4 in terms of Leicester, Chelsea or Liverpool, who you can back more in a big game in the world, to be honest, in a clutch game at this moment in time than Mo Salah. He does it every single season. He'll turn up for Liverpool in this game and he'll score 2-0 Liverpool.
Cool. Oh God, Dan Jay's Milan Jovanovic. Do you remember him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Header nearly headbutted the floor.
Joe Cole as well.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
Red card on his debut.
I believe we've got to 100 likes, so apparently that's an omen that we're going to win. Get in. I think it's probably the first time I've got to 100 likes. This week's look it up. Yeah. So, Adam, let's have a chat about Uncle Roy.
Yes, I want to hear this. I want to hear this now. I want to hear what he did. I want to hear what he did in Liverpool.
What he did.
Not a nice man. Why is he not a nice man?
He did the bare fucking minimum. He was going home at 3 o'clock every day, back to piss in London because he couldn't bear to fucking move up north. He can talk multiple languages apart from the one that says "win the fucking game." He would pick a side that a 2-year-old would go, "That's not going to work." And I think the one that really got me was Fernando Torres missed the game because I believe his wife was having a baby. Fair enough. We beat Villa 3-0, and he's on with the two Muppets they had at Sky at the time, who are now in Dubai, whatever they are. And he said, hi guys, it's great to win. I'm going to go and have a glass of wine and enjoy the feeling of being ninth. And as soon as I heard that, I just went, fuck this off.
Didn't you say? I remember one now.
If the great Mourinho...
Trabzonspor in the Champions League, in the European League, he said it was a famous European night or something.
Yeah. He was claiming that. And was it, if the great Mourinho says it's a hard job, how am I to argue? You're like, what? But when you know you're bad? This when you know you're bad. And this when Arsenal should have known they were really on the shits as well, is when Fergie's nice to you. When Alex Ferguson is saying they should give him time, I don't know why they're having a go at this poor manager.
He was loving it.
And then he goes, by the way, Torres is a diver. And Roy Hodgson's response was, I'll have a word with him. Do you know what I mean? He just didn't get it. He didn't get Liverpool. He did the bare bloody minimum. He didn't like us. We didn't like him. And I was quite pleased to see him gone, to be honest.
Did Gerrard miss that penalty on purpose, do you think? That was his last game? He skied over the bar?
Well, if you go on Redmen...
conspiracy.
If you go on Redmen TV... I think Paul Machin did the inner monologue of Gerrard, which is like, I could get us back into this. I could win this. Fuck it.
I've never seen him sky a penalty.
Does all that work out for a guy though who's retiring after his long career? Does that work out as just do you think Klopp would say after all that, actually no, we won't do it, or do you think Klopp will actually turn around and go, well, yeah, why not? Because all that he's been and gone a long time ago before he was there, before virtually all the players were there.
He never, ever got Liverpool, did he? When he came in, it's the worst period. I mean, I've supported Liverpool since 1996. That's the worst period I can ever remember and hope to ever remember as a Liverpool fan. I think we were knocking about in 15th, 16th. And, there was a real case of we're in a relegation scrap here, and Kenny had to kind of come in and save the day. But, he's been a manager for what, since the 70s. So longevity-wise, absolutely, he's going to be remembered. But, he's not really a legend of the game in my opinion. Every time he's had a decent go, obviously I'm Liverpool and England. He completely ruined both when he was there. And yeah, he's never really overachieved. I look at his time at Crystal Palace. He's just kept him up. 17th, 16th, 15th.
As the great Neil Axon would say, it's called the algorithm. Which is doesn't matter what you do, whether if he had Man City would finish on 46 points. It's the consistency. He'll give you that. Listen, the only present I want to give Roy Hodgson is a 5-0 slapping round Anfield, and he goes off humbled. The only thing Roy Hodgson gave me was, obviously we had the safe pair of hands nonsense, was the Iceland game, where I was sat in a pub, because I watch England games, but I'm not that bothered. But I was sat with Man United fans, Everton fans, and we were 2-1 down to Iceland. They're going, it's all right, we'll turn this round. And me and my middle of minutes were going, we won't. We'll lose 3-1. Why? He'll go defensive. And they went, no, he'll go for it. Going, I've seen this game before. I've seen this management style before. And when you saw it, you're like, I can see it going. It's just overhyped.
I remember he took... Was it Jack Wilshere, who hadn't played for almost a year? He brought him on at half-time, I think, in that game to try and rescue it for... I think it was Dele Alli. But Dele Alli was like the star of the England team at the time. I think he came off at half-time.
Yeah, Dele was informed. Kev was almost like, Switzerland probably was the highlight of his career, getting Switzerland to a World Cup. That probably is the highlight of his career, in fairness.
It was so long ago, wasn't it?
1994.
Yeah, since he's been in his latter years, what has he actually done? He had a good little go at Fulham. I think they got to the Europa League final, but they still came 12th, and that was before they'd been in the Championship. So I think longevity, yes, but he's already had a clap at Palace's last home game, isn't he? So I don't see a guard of honour at Liverpool at Anfield. We're going to be concentrating on ourselves. We're going to be concentrating on a 3-0 win, qualifying for Champions League once again. Hodgson can just disappear into the distance for all I think Liverpool fans care.
Oh, yeah. Big distance. I also have 3-0. This is, to me, has got vibes of the 16-17 season.
Yeah.
Last game of the season, we played Borough, who were relegated, and gave us one hell of a scare. And it looked a bit dire. In fact, Arsenal went 1-0 up. And then Wijnaldum scored literally the last kick of the first half. And once Liverpool went 1-0, I think they cruised then. And I feel like Liverpool need to do something similar, probably like they did with Burnley. Get the goal before half-time and then manage the game. I think in terms of squad, I think it's pretty much the same squad that went to Burnley. I don't believe Jota trained. I know Klopp said he had a tiny chance, but I don't think it happened. Great to see Henderson training. Well, I say it's great to see Henderson. It is great to see Henderson training. I don't think he'll play tomorrow, but it does mean he's going to go away with England.
England captain,
England's unofficial captain. Yeah, I do think he'll go away with England now, especially the fact that England can pick up to 26 players. So I do feel like him, Maguire, and Grealish are probably what he would take as his 3 injury risks, because then he could pick 23 fit players. He probably still won't pick Trent, to be fair, but that's a slightly different question.
Could pick 36 players and Trent's still not getting in there.
Yeah, Mr.
Travesty if he doesn't.
Yeah, Mr. Slackler. He asked a question earlier. I think it was Alisson and Firmino. Firmino on LFC TV. I think they were asked who's the laziest trainer. I think they said Origi. He said, "Did you think it was?" I think he said, "Was it a little bit under the belt? What do we think?" I thought it was a bit of light-hearted banter. I think he has that quite laid-back attitude, but obviously because Origi's not had the best season, it's just like it feels like another stick to beat him with. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think it's professional doing things like that, or
when's the last time Origi played a game?
He's been injured, hasn't he? Of course, it's Liverpool. He's one of the 15 players that's still injured.
But you say any player, any player, it's going to be. Oh, why has he said that? He could have picked the best. He could have picked Mo Salah. He could have picked the goalkeeper. He could have picked anyone. So why not pick a player who's possibly going to move? So kind of an easy answer to pick someone who's not a first team player.
He's got to be on his way, hasn't he? He's offering nothing. He's had his moments. The Champions League win, he was a big part of. He did quite well in the league win as well. A couple of late goals, Everton and Newcastle, but he's not offering anything. And to be honest, a little bit controversial. I think Firmino needs some proper competition, if not drop to the bench as the number 9. So does Origi become a third choice? I think get him out the door, get someone in to go into that front three, freshen it up a bit, and give Salah some help.
Does he leave a legend? Or not a legend? I hate the word, but does he leave a cult hero?
Yeah, definitely. For moments, scoring in the Champions League final makes you a cult hero.
Got to enter, surely.
And Barcelona, he scored that Barcelona game as well, didn't he?
Barcelona got a couple, as well. So big moments. Yeah.
The corner taken quickly. That was Origi, wasn't it?
I think he got one in the first half as well. Was that the Henderson shot when he hit the rebound? Yeah. So cult hero, sure, big moments. But he's never ever done it. Consistently enough to be a legend.
The best tweets I've seen about Trent's corner was they were talking about the Alisson goal, saying Trent puts another brilliant corner in for Alisson to score a last-minute winner. I said, and that's not even his most famous corner. That's when you do very well. No, for me, Origi, look, hindsight's a wonderful thing. He probably should have got after the Champions League final, to be fair. Perhaps he thought, that would kick him on. It hasn't kicked on. But no, look, as frustrating as Origi can be, and I find him very, very frustrating at times, he goes down as a cult hero. Look, you score a winning goal in a Champions League final. You go down in memories for that. It was brilliant. The funny thing, and that was one of the times that year when it fell to him. I thought he's got this. Whereas it felt to Mane or Firmino, he's like, well, he might have a chance. Not that they're good players, but he was just in that groove that year. It was like the perfect storm for him. So I think he goes down as a cult hero. Look, I actually think if Origi goes somewhere else where he's playing regularly, he'd probably do all right. He'd probably score quite a few goals. I just don't. He's not suited to being a bench player anymore. He needs to play regularly, and I just think that's what he needs. Right, Pete, did you have how many points at Chelsea again? Did you say at the weekend? Did you say 1?
I've gone for a draw. I've got to, haven't I? Really, I don't think Liverpool will have any problems at all. So the angle I'm going to go with is Villa 1, Chelsea 1. Okay,
Adam, what you had Chelsea winning, didn't you?
I did. I think they're going to get the job, get it over the line. They always turn up when it matters, don't they? Tuchel's got really good ability as a manager and gets them to play. In the big games, they beat City in the semi-final. They beat Madrid in the semi-final. Just feel like they turn up when they really, really need to. So sorry, Pete, just about miss out.
And Oscar, what have you got for Chelsea? Do you have Chelsea?
All 3 teams to win. So just for it to stay as it is, Chelsea. But honestly, Pete, if Chelsea missed out, and it was Villa who did it. Grealish, last minute, just dives, but a full-on dive for a penalty. Like, it shouldn't be a penalty either. I just cannot think.
Let's say to VAR, they'll still give it. We've seen.
Just a the worst dive you've ever seen off Grealish or something like that. The one time you want to just see it, just for Chelsea to be done again.
Do I actually hope, because it'd be more funny, is if he plays Kepa, because he's rested players for the final, and Kepa does it. Kepa does what Kepa does, which is he has a mad 5 minutes.
You've seen what could happen last season. The goal line technology breaks once again at Villa Park, and the goal goes in that doesn't cross the line. It's Chelsea again, like at Anfield, but this time.
The ghost goal too. Oh, can you imagine? Listen, as long as look, I'm touching wood. As long as it happens to Liverpool, I don't care. But
it'll definitely be Jorginho who gives it away, because it's always Jorginho or Kepa. It's always one of those two that makes the mistake if it's going to. I mean, the best was last week was when Jorginho had completely lost Tielemans, and he's just pointing at Tielemans like his midfield runner that he's supposed to be tracking, and he's telling Rudiger and Thiago Silva, like one of the best centre backs of like the last 10 years, Thiago Silva, to go and mark Tielemans. It'd just be hilarious if Chelsea mess it up again. But hopefully.
Barry said, will we see keepers coming from the last minute again? Hopefully not in the Liverpool game, because hopefully we've got that fairly secure. Yeah, I hope so, yeah. I believe, and so correct me if I'm wrong, Alisson's goal, he's the first goalkeeper to score a winner in the Premier League, apparently. All the other goalkeepers have scored have always been equalisers or opening goals. So that's a...
Wait, Schmeichel's already scored a goal in the Premier League. Not Casper, his dad did, didn't he? For Villa, I think it was, of all teams. And Casper scored for Leicester in the Championship in the promotion season, or I think it was the season before that. But there's form there.
Yeah, the best goal Schmeichel never scored was, I think he scored an overhead kick. But he was a mile offside. Like, it's a hell of a goal, though. It's one of the few times I'd quite like to see United score, because you don't see a keeper do that ever.
Didn't he score at Everton, Peter Schmeichel? Didn't he score at Everton for Villa?
It's Villa 2 or something.
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah, so let's leave the Everlow. They've got enough problems. They've got a nice sash of a orangey red kit, which is causing a few eruptions, I believe. Anyway, so as it stands, then. Adam and Oscar, I've got Chelsea 3rd, us 4th, Leicester 5th. Me and Pete, I've got Liverpool 2nd, I wish. Liverpool 3rd, Leicester 4th, Chelsea 5th. I think you imagine.
We'll take that.
We will, Pete, yeah. Adam and Oscar, they just like to spoil the party. Right.
I'm hoping to jinx it like last week. That's all I'm hoping.
I like your thinking. So before we go, a very quick couple of minutes in our teams. So what do we think will happen with our teams in preparation for next season? So if you're Liverpool, do we think we're going to be challenging again? I'll give you a spoiler. I think we will. But we'll go into that in a minute. So, Pete, Leicester, if they finish 4th or 5th, does it make a dramatic difference to what they're going to plan in the summer, do you think? Or will it make a big difference in your opinion?
Funnily enough, I would have said a few weeks ago it would have, but at the moment, I'm going to go for no, because the club's so well ran. I think with transfer targets, they might change slightly, but I don't think wholesale we're missing out on player X, Y, and Z because we're not getting Champions League. Overall, whatever happens this weekend, it's been an unbelievable season again, and we are now an established top 6 side. There is no big 6 now in the Premier League in the sense of sport, in the sense of Premier League positions. There is in terms of size of clubs, but with what we've been doing on the field, it's just been when you're playing in an era of a Man City who win the League Cup every single year, and it takes one of the all-time best seasons by a football club to win the Premier League ahead of Man City. You're essentially only playing for one trophy, and then to win that trophy against a Chelsea side and against a United side, against another Premier League side, and 2 difficult Championship games. It was a brilliant FA Cup win. So overall, the way the club's ran, the management, the squad we've got, a slight addition here or there for the 1 or 2 weaknesses in the squad. I can't see any reason why Leicester can't just replicate what they've done last season and this season. I think they will be more competitive in the cups, and I know we're saying that on the back of an FA Cup win, but I think they'll be going for those trophies. And also, last season was the first season in the Europa League, and we were knocked out in the knockout stages when we had a lot of injuries, but also we were playing in the FA Cup as well, and also then going for a top 4. So I think the Europa League next year, not that we took it lightly at all. We played really strong sides throughout. I just think next season, if we're in the Europa League, I think Leicester can go very, very far. And I think they'll really target the Europa League as a competition to win. If they're in the Champions League, bonus, absolutely fantastic. If it doesn't happen this weekend, put hands in the air and go, if you give me the choice, it was always going to be the FA Cup. That's amazing. To see Leicester win an FA Cup, they've never been in the semi-final in my lifetime. They've never been in the semi-final in my lifetime. That's unbelievable. So from a supporter's point of view, this is not a trophy or something that you're going to go and win once every 5 or 6 years. It's just not the case with a club the size of Leicester. So that goes down in history. It's a great way for Wes Morgan to bow out. He's retiring from football at the end of the season. Christian Fuchs is leaving, Matty James. So a few players who have been there an awful long time. So there's going to be a slight change in the guard, but I can't see any reason why Leicester will not be in a very, very similar position next year and probably miss out late on. It's a shame because they've been in the top 4 every single week this season. Every single week. So, and it's not like last season. Last season, they did really collapse over the line and got beat by Man United on the final day. This season, it's been slightly different. Yes, the defeat against Newcastle, but overall, the form has actually been quite strong at the end of the season. It's just the fact that you've got an Alisson goal and Chelsea with a sustained run as well. It's almost circumstance. So I think the term bottle jobs, I don't think that really should be labelled on a Leicester side who, in amongst a top fair, 4 run, won an FA Cup. You know, I
think to be fair, it was aimed at your manager. I don't think it was aimed at your club.
Well, he's I don't really know. He's gone and won a trophy now. I think that FA Cup win, end of the day, that was just some performance, some wins. What a goal! We should get
you on the show with Gav. You and him have a Rodgers discussion.
He's obviously got his faults, but he's got his plus points. At a club like Leicester, what he's done with that side, the respect he's got from the players, and the way he's got them playing, it's just a perfect fit. And now, whether that could be replicated at another club or a bigger club like Liverpool or elsewhere, because obviously he won't go back to Liverpool probably. So whether that will be the case, I don't know. I'd imagine Spurs will come knocking. He won't go there. I think he would have gone to somewhere like Arsenal if they slipped into more bother and Arteta went. I think he probably would go somewhere like Arsenal. But at the moment, he's at Leicester and he's doing very well. Mm-hmm. Winning an FA Cup is amazing, absolutely amazing. So we've got that in the bank.
Quick question from
next season.
Quick question from Dicko. Who is your player of the season?
For Leicester?
Yes.
It was the person who won all the awards. It was Yuri Tillemans for me. I think it changed a few times. James Justin was certainly on for winning that trophy. Absolutely.
It was a cruel injury he got because he was brilliant.
He was going to win that. Next, it would have been Harvey Barnes. He then gets ruled out for the season. So Yuri Tillemans stepped up. And what he's done, last season, we know he was a great player, but he lacked physically. And I'm talking 90 minutes physically, not the season, 90 minutes. He couldn't play 2 or 3 games a week, which sometimes you have to. Not at all. This season, he's played virtually every game, 90 minutes every game, and he's been absolutely fantastic. So he's actually improved, and he is the best player at the football club. And that's saying something because we've got the best team we've ever had, and that's better than 2016. And he's the best player, and he needs to sign a new contract very quickly, please.
Oh, he'd be a great Gina replacement. Matty Hayes, Tottenham blog. He's not on this. He's obviously not on today because he was working sadly. Good he could make the show. I'm sure you guys smashed it out. Apart from me, well, maybe so, mate. But I probably smashed it more than Spurs did. Anyway,
yeah,
Oscar,
don't watch the bit where I talk about Tottenham and Eric Dyer specifically. Matt,
I'm going to send a video of this to Matt to help him with his counselling. So, Oscar,
he's got to accept reality.
Leave him be. He's got leave him be. Spurs has hurt him enough. Let's not add to his woes. Let's talk about Leeds. So, cracking first season back. So what are you thinking you need, or what do you think's going to happen in the summer? And as Andico asked, who is your player of the season?
Well, I'll start with player of the season because that's the easiest. It is Stuart Dallas. There's been a couple of shouts, to be fair. I think it's a little bit similar to Leicester in the sense that there's been a lot of players that have been 7, 8 out of 10, week in, week out. You know, I could even list them. Ilan Mellier's been fantastic. Calvin Phillips has stepped up to this level really well. He'd probably be the closest to Stuart Dallas. Rafinha's been fantastic.
Phillips must be a good shout because you're not the same when he doesn't play.
No, that's that as well. Rafinha, we're not the same about Rafinha as well. And that's the thing. That's what we've got to work on in the summer. Diego Llorente's been a big success. Robin Koch had a really good start to the season. So they've all stepped up in their own way. Patrick Bamford, again, been fantastic for us. Stepped up to this level really well. And I can't really think, other than Kiko Garcia and Helder Costa, I don't think there's anyone who's really not done it for us this season. I think they've all shown their worth at times, at the very least, this season. So they've all done well. But in terms of this summer, the clear thing for us is the left-back situation. Johnny Alioski looks like he's leaving the club. It's not been confirmed as of yet, but it looks like it's going to be unlikely. And even if he does stay, he's not going to be first-choice left-back. So left-back, first and foremost, is the area where I'm most certain that we're going to make an adjustment, make a signing. I think we also need a backup number 10. Obviously, Pablo Hernandez leaving the club. That's going to be an area where we need to strengthen. And I think out wide as well, I think we're a little bit reliant on Rafinha and Harrison because when they are not on the team, the drop-off is big in terms of quality, in terms of Ian Poveda, Helder Costa. Ian Poveda's young. We're still going to give him time. Helder Costa, again, 26, 27, not really stepping up into this league. But in terms of specific players, now this is where it varies a little bit because what I think we're going to do in terms of the types of player we're going to sign, left-back, number 10, winger, is actually what I think we will do. I think from all the noises that have been made so far, it sounds like that's what we're going to look at. The left back, the discussion is about Romain Perard from Ligue 1. He plays for Brest at Ligue 1. Left back, got a number of assists. I've not seen a lot of him, to be fair. But again, sounds like a very promising player. If he's anywhere near as competent at left back as what Luke Ayling is at right back, then we're laughing. A left-footed left back is something we've not had for probably about 10 years, to be honest. we struggle with our left back.
They're overrated.
Well, I don't know what it is about us with our left back history. It's just, I don't know. It's just been so poor. We signed Barry Douglas from Wolves a couple of years back, and he had 14, 15 assists in the season before that. He just didn't really do it for Leeds. You know, he got that injury, and we've not really had a great record with left back. So we expect left back to be a situation we strengthen. Personally, for me, I really like Jose Gaya at Valencia. I think he's been around for a long time. Very, very experienced player. I think he'd be a very decent shout for us because Valencia, again, we signed Rodrigo from them. They are struggling financially. We might be able to get him for a good value there. But I think it will be Perraud if we are going to sign the left back. Or there's been a lot of mention of that left backs, to be fair.
Bertrand? He's on a free in the summer.
Bertrand's a shout. I mean, Tsimikas was kind of mentioned as well from Liverpool.
You can have him.
I mean, again, the irony with that is his injury record would probably suit us quite well in terms of our left back history. But I can't see that.
He's the only man I know. It always looks like he's just woke up.
Yeah,
he's just got that look that he's just woke up. But the thing is,
he's aged about 20 years since he first signed. I mean, when you saw that picture when he first signed, he looked so like bright and bubbly, and then the next picture, he just looks like Alan from The Hangover.
The bad thing is, the few games he's played, he's all right actually.
I think he's a good player.
Like everyone in Liverpool this season, we haven't seen enough of him.
So
okay.
The Bertrand thing, apparently, if Leicester get Champions League, that's the one signing that they reckon, even though it's a free transfer. This is the thing I was mentioning with Leicester. If they get Champions League, is it going to be a complete change of scenario? No. But what they might do is they might get someone like Bertrand on a couple of year deal, on a 1 year deal, something that they wouldn't do if they were in the Europa League, because they can just spend that extra bit of money on wages with the Champions League just to bolster that position. That's the rumour around here.
Fair enough. I
think as well, we'll for me, one player I really want is Matthias Pereira from West Brom. I think he's a fantastic player.
There'll be quite a few after him, I'm sure.
There'll be a lot of competition, but I'm hoping that because of how well he played under Bilic, he's obviously done well under Sam as well. And I think obviously Bilic and Bielsa are quite close. I'd like to think that he might be tempted. You know, of course, like the likes of Dimitri Payet played under under Bielsa as well. And I think Pereira's quite similar stylistically to a Payet for me. So I think he fit us quite well. He's different to kind of our other kind of attacking players. I think he's a little bit more measured, gets on the ball a little bit more, takes the ball to feet, a little bit more than Rafinha and Harrison do. So he's a bit of a different alternative, a bit more of a playmaker in the team. You only have to look at his numbers for West Brom. I think he could do a job in this team. And there's also mention of a winger, Matthias Cunha, has been mentioned as well from Hertha Berlin in the Bundesliga. Again, he can play in a variety of positions. He can play number 10. He can play out wide. He can play up top. But that's a name that's probably had the most momentum so far. So you can never have enough Brazilians in your team. It's an absolute joy for Leeds.
I agree.
It's something we've not had.
We know we're getting quite good at signing Brazilians now, and most of them turn out quite well for us.
Well, considering the before Rafinha, the most famous Brazilian to play for Leeds was Roque Jr., who was absolutely
crap,
awful for Leeds. I can't even exaggerate that enough. From being a World Cup winning centre back to less than a year later signing for Leeds, it was absolutely one of the most.
I remember that sign. It was mad.
Disappointing. Like the excitement when he signed, and then he played, and it's like Leicester away. The irony is, the Leicester away was the game. We lost 4-0. Lilian Nallis, I think it was, who scored one of the best goals I think I've ever seen live in my lifetime. In terms of the strike, was absolutely unbelievable.
That was the
Roque Jr.'s debut. Horrendous.
That was the famous fan zone on Sky Sports.
It was.
That's what's YouTube later. So, Adam, Liverpool. Let's have a Liverpool chat. I mean, we are a Liverpool channel. Probably should, really, shouldn't I?
Probably should, yeah.
Oh, Gav will be getting me sacked otherwise. So, next season, do we, not a blip, but do we think we'll be back in the mix next season? I personally think we are, because I just don't see you losing 3 centre-backs again next season. I just don't think it's possible. I do think we need to strengthen. I do think this run of the last 9-10 games has shown it's probably not the big rebuild that everyone was claiming we needed. It probably is more tweaks and strengthening in the right areas. I'm not seeing mass overhauls in my head, but I see what you may say different. That's smart.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work to do. To be honest, you start at centre back, and you mentioned we're not going to get 3 injuries again, but Matip, his ankles are made of cheese. Joe Gomez is always one for a big long-term injury. He's had a couple now. So can we rely on those two going forward? I personally wouldn't. So I think we need a Konate at minimum to bring in alongside Van Dijk. You mentioned the fullback areas. Tsimikas and Nico Williams are a million miles away from Liverpool players, in my opinion. I think someone like James Justin would be good.
I do think we sign a right back, and I think Nico goes on loan.
Yeah.
Because when I've seen Nico play for Wales, he looks decent. And admittedly, they play a 3-5-2, so it probably helps his game. But I think he's a bit like Tsimikas in these games. Yeah. I'm hoping with Tsimikas, it's a bit like it's the 1 year he settled in, because when he's played in cup games, I thought he's looked all right. I do see a backup keeper coming in, because I think even if Adrian stays, there is talk Adrian staying, he's staying as third choice. He's not staying as second choice, because I think again Kelleher is another lad who's going to go on loan.
Peggy Arthur's sad coming in, is he?
Peggy, well, to be honest, I'd take Peggy over Adrian at the moment.
Do you know what he's doing now? Do you know what he's doing now away from football?
Go on.
He's a porn star.
Oh.
Rumor has it that's done the rounds actually, apparently around locally. Peggy Arthur said that's what he does now.
Yeah, there's a joke there, but I probably won't do it. Kev Ball's not happy with Mikel shout. I'm not saying he's not good enough, but I do think at his age,
same time, doesn't he? He's a young lad. I think
Gainsbourg will do good. If he can get a Prem loan, especially, or a higher Championship loan, just to get him that experience. Which is why I do think if we do sign a backup keeper, it would be someone of. I'm not saying we're going to get him, but someone of the ilk of a Ben Foster or a John Ruddy, who is English and is just a steady backup. Someone of that ilk. I mean, you're not going to get Ben Foster now because Watford will come up.
No, like I said, look at what Dean Henderson's done. Being loaned up from the United. I'd never heard of him, and suddenly he's knocking on the door of the England 11. So I think, backup goalie. I think, like I mentioned, James Justin, he could play left back and right back. Maybe we could get one player in like that could cover both sides, because being a backup left back to Robertson, as Tsimikas has found, is very, very tricky to get any game time because he's so consistent. But if you had one player that could cover both sides, that could potentially work quite well. midfield, I want to see the back of Naby Keita. I think Gini's on his way, and I think Milner's had his day. So I think a midfielder would be good.
I agree on Naby Keita. I think he will be gone. I think he's probably the most sellable asset as well.
Yeah.
In terms of James Milner, I think the plan with James Milner this year was for him to do probably what United used to do with Giggs when they were winning stuff, which was you bring him up for last 20s to see games out, you throw him in cup games. I think that was the plan this year, but unfortunately because of Naby Keita, Chamberlain, the list goes on, being what they are in terms of fitness-wise, he's had to go to the well probably one too many times, and in fairness to him, hasn't really let Liverpool down with that. So I think if Milner goes, it'll be because he says he wants to go. If he says he's happy to stay, I don't think the club move him on. But I think Keita goes. Chamberlain's the interesting one. On fitness alone, I'd get rid of Chamberlain on fitness alone. But there is the English situation in terms of we need homegrown players. We don't have enough. And Klopp still seems very high on Chamberlain. He's still in squads. He has given him a couple of goes when he has been fit, whereas Keita, he hasn't, which to me speaks volumes. No. And I don't think Madrid was the reason that is. There's obviously stuff behind the scenes that they're not happy with, whether it's his fitness, whether it's, I don't know what it is, but to me, Keita, I think, just feels like he needs a break somewhere else.
Yeah, it's been just 3 years, and he's at the same time as Fabinho. They came in. Look how high Fabinho's risen in the ranks, and it was still not even in my second Liverpool 11. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then I'm assuming we're also an attacker coming in. In my ideal,
it's one of them. I've had this conversation where everyone's going, "Oh, it's a COVID season. Give Mane and Firmino a season pass." And well, no, 6 games without scoring a goal is a bad run. You can't go 38 games and say, "Oh, it's a COVID season. Salah's done all right." So do we go into next year and just think, "Oh, okay, Mane and Firmino are just going to be back to normal again"? Because if they're not, we've only really got Jota again to bring in. So I think we have to bring in another front 3 player of Salah's quality if we want to compete on the top 2.
Yeah, I agree. I do think we need another attacker going in. I'm more willing to give Mane a pass than Firmino in the sense that it's his first bad season in 4 years.
Yeah.
So let's see what next season brings. There have been questions about Bobby, I would say, for 2 seasons. So, but I'd be happy to keep Bobby if we're going to use him more as a 10.
I agree.
If you said to me you've got Jota and Firmino coming off the bench,
that's
when you're going, that's a strong bench. That's impact players. Or if Firmino's in form, you have one of the other lads on the bench. Either way,
we've never had options this year, have we? Jota's been injured, and then we've just gone back to the same front 3 for the majority.
I think someone told me on the chat, unfortunately I've lost it, that actually Keita has played more minutes than Ox, which is fair. I think there is an expectation though I always think with Ox's injuries, and this is not the English biases, they all stem back from snapping his ACL and a few other ligaments. My frustration with Keita is the volume, a bit like Matip. It's always a niggle, another niggle.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of Oxes seem to go back to that knee injury, which is why I'm always a bit like, do you keep someone who's not quite, he's just never quite been the same since it, and it's a really horrible injury because actually he was doing really well before that one. And
he was.
I do feel for it.
He does actually do quite well. I've never seen Keita have a good game ever.
I won't go that far. I think his last few. I think his last few have been disappointing. He can.
Yeah.
So, but I'll be interested to see who is.
It's a big summer, isn't it? I mean, you mentioned about are we going to be back in the title race next season? Absolutely. With Van Dijk, Henderson back into that spine, but I look at City, Chelsea, and United. They're all going to strengthen. It's a big summer window. Where does Kane end up? Where does Haaland end up? Is Mbappe looking at leaving? Where are them 3 going to end up if they're told to move? So
I've got a feeling Haaland doesn't move. Don't know why. I've got a feeling Haaland doesn't move. And I think Dortmund will look to cash in on Sancho. I think the Mbappe one, I can't quite decide whether he goes or he doesn't go because there is a lot of talk. 1 minute he's going, next minute the new contract talk keeps coming up. Kane to me, it's £100 million. It's who's going to pay £100 million on a 28-year-old footballer, and the only club I think that'll do that is Man United because Man United have done it before. They'll do it again, and you know what? He'd be perfect for them. I know people say United need a right winger. Trust me, if they had Kane up front, that puts United into a different level. For me, I know it sounds mad. City don't spend that level of money on a player. Look, I think the most expensive player is 50 or 60 million, which I think was Rodri. So I think if City are going to spend 60, City are going to spend north for 100 million on someone. I think City look at an Mbappe or they look at Haaland. I think they want to go for the more younger option. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. But yeah, unfortunately for Kane, he's backed himself to a corner. He signed a 5-year, was it 5-year extension?
Yeah.
You kind of set yourself up a little bit there for that, which isn't helping you. So, but I think it'll be an exciting summer this summer. I think it's probably going to be better than some give it credit, especially if we get Champions League.
I think you're definitely right when you mentioned earlier about the Kane would be the merry-go-round. And I agree with you about United. I can see Kane going to United, and I think that would then elevate them to title contenders. I don't think Liverpool will go back to what they were last season. I think obviously with the players that they've missed out on, they'll be better next year. I think City are still going to be really difficult to beat, and I reckon actually the side who could do that if they sign Harry Kane would be Manchester United. But I think Liverpool will be in there with a chance, but I just can't see them outgunning Man City like they did last season, because that was just unbelievable. And to get back to that's going to be very, very difficult.
I mean, the interesting thing with City this year is their top goal scorer has got 8 goals, I believe.
Yeah.
So they've literally built this league style of defence. There's 2 ways of winning the league, but I do think it's interesting what you need to do there. So that's the end of the show for today. So this is the last Friday forecast of the season. So a couple of thank yous. Thanks to, I don't know on tonight, Avi and Paul, my 2 Tripper colleagues who have helped me out. Obviously, thanks to Pete for joining in, and Oscar, and of course, Big Joe. I do miss having Joe on the shows. And of course, Matt, who's been he's just a joy to have on the show. He's as much as I take the mickey out of Matt, he's really good. He's really good for it, and he's a nice lad to follow. And we were very lucky. We also got Emma Sanders on from the BBC, who was a really, really interesting guest to have on, which I hope to get again. So this is not the end of the Friday nights, though. So next week we are probably going to have a draft, because I feel like stressing some of the trippers out, and because I'm presented, I don't have to worry about them. So keep your eye out for that. And then from the first Friday in June, we've got a new show, me, Avi, and probably Callum from Coppish, around our European runs. Some which went very well, some not so well. But it's a little series that we've decided to do over the summer, because quite frankly, I ain't talking about England, and I'm not doing the Euros. I'll leave that for other
what
podcasters.
If Trent gets in the squad, though? Does that change it?
No, not for me. No, maybe one of the other pods. But
what about if Henderson gets the captaincy and Trent gets in the squad?
And Kane gets left out the squad?
Yeah.
Well, Kane gets left out. I'll just bring Matt on. We'll have a chat. Just see what he thinks. But, enough of that. Right, before we go, Pete, where can everyone find you?
You can find me for Fox 8 Podcast. You can search for us on Twitter, etc., etc. I'll be looking forward to the Euros. Hope I'll be out in St. Petersburg.
That's because you're going the Euros, aren't you?
I'll be in St. Petersburg, so that's where I'll be camped out. Hopefully at the moment, because trying to get across Europe is a disaster, as I found out last week. So it's all a bit of a mess, but fingers crossed it all works out.
Awesome. Oscar, everyone must know by now, but where can everyone find you and Joe?
You can find me and Joe on all Leeds TV, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Plenty of stuff planned for the summer. We are going to cover a little bit of the Euros, probably mainly England games. Obviously then going to a very exciting pre-season. Going to do a bit of transfer talk, bit of everything. Big congratulations to Joe as well. Big congratulations to Joe. It's going to be an exciting summer for all Leeds TV and Leeds United as well. We cannot wait for next season and being back at the games. Just cannot wait for it. But you can find us on all Leeds TV on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram.
Cool. And Adam, excellent debut. Where can everyone find you and James?
Yeah, so myself, I'm the Southern Scouser on YouTube and at the South Scouse on Twitter. And then me and James are also part of Never Have Foul. So Never Have Foul on YouTube and at the Red Sea Pod, which is the Liverpool channel on Never Have Foul, also on Twitter.
Awesome. And of course, my one other big thank you I should say was thanks to you guys in the chat. The reason the show goes so well is because of you guys in the chat. It makes it more fun, gives us great insight. And on a personal note, thanks very much for the feedback I get. I've had lots of very nice feedback from you guys in the chat. So it's been much appreciated. But remember, the most important thing is hashtag Sienna Steps. If you don't remember anything else in the show, hashtag Sienna Steps. Let's get as many eyes as we can on that. Until then, I will see you guys next Friday for another Day Trippers draft. Until then, take care of yourselves. Be safe.